How you doing, folks? I wanted to talk to you very quickly about many of the issues that are happening. I want to talk to you about Miranda Rights. Many people have heard about the term Miranda Rights. It's not, like Miranda the drink, it's Miranda. And there seems to be a misconception about what Miranda Rights actually are. I think generally, the average person has an idea, it's like your right to remain silent. You cannot ask me any questions, your right to an attorney, right? Generally, people have that sense of what your Miranda rights are, right? Your Fifth Amendment rights. I have the right not to say anything. But I don't think people sometimes understand the consequences of those rights or what the consequences are if you're not read your rights. So where does Miranda rights even come from? It comes from a 1966 case that was decided by the U.S. Supreme Court, Miranda versus Arizona. And in that case, there was a gentleman that was arrested. I believe he was arrested for sexual assault, or I think it was rape. And he was detained and questioned and interrogated, but at no time was he told that he had a right to counsel. At no time was he told that he had the right to remain silent. And the words that he signed an actual confession pretty much to the rape. I've done a case similar to this where my client signed a confession to an alleged sexual assault. And if you read basically his confession kind of is tailor-made for Miranda rights. I understand that what I'm saying is I'm giving this statement freely and willingly, and just went step by step as if someone took all the requirements of Miranda rights, had check boxes on it, and he just had to check the box that he was admitted to all of these things. At the end of that case, the jury just did not believe that he willfully and willingly and voluntarily entered into that particular confession. And which is pretty much what happened in the Miranda case, was that because the person was not told of his right to remain silent, he couldn't have confessed. If he had known that he had a right to remain silent, he had a right to counsel, then he may or may not have, but he at least has to be given an opportunity to know what those rights are. Right? So this is different than if a person is, let's say you're in a room and you're told what your rights are, you're told that you don't have to speak, but then the door is closed, the police officer has his gun out, out of the holster, and you feel intimidated, and then you speak. Now it's a question of, well, yeah, you were told what your rights are, well, you given the information voluntarily. That's a whole different scenario. In the Miranda case, he was interrogated, and he was never even told that he had this right. And then he entered into a confession. Now, one of the common misconceptions, the one I really want to focus on, is people believe that if you're arrested and you're not read your Miranda rights, you're not told of your right to counsel, you're not told of your right to remain silent, that makes the arrest invalid. That's just simply not true. Miranda rights are only triggered where a person is being detained, you've been arrested, and then you're being interrogated. And as a result of the detention, an interrogation in a criminal matter, you then confess to something or you make statements. You were never given an opportunity to refuse to speak. You were never told of these rights. And then if at some point in a criminal setting, those statements are going to be used against you, you can then argue that it is in violation of your constitutional rights. You were never given an opportunity to speak to counsel. You never told your right to speak to counsel. You never told your right not to even speak at all. So it's only in the context of a criminal case that it really matters. But simply not being read your Miranda rights, that would not make the arrest invalid if you made no statement. So if you made no statement, if you were not interrogated, you were just simply, arrested on the street, you were not interrogated at all, and then you were, processed, you can't say, well, I was never read my Miranda rights, and therefore the arrest is invalid. So that's one of the misconceptions. I just want people to know in their mind that Miranda rights are the rights that you have, but simply not being told of them does not by itself make the arrest invalid. Again, my name is Mustapha Ndanusa. Hope you guys stay safe and take care.